When you give someone unlimited attention, they begin to take it for granted. It's human nature. What's abundant often feels less valuable, and what's scarce instantly becomes more desirable. Think about it. If you could walk outside and pick up diamonds off the street every single day, they'd lose their worth. But because they're rare, people chase them, fight for them. The same principle applies to relationships and attraction. When a woman senses that your attention is always available, that you're always checking and always trying to please her, she unconsciously starts to feel like there's no challenge, no mystery, no spark. The excitement fades because she doesn't have to earn your time or your focus. It's just handed to her on a silver platter. And whether she admits it or not, that predictability lowers your value in her eyes. But the moment you step back, the moment you stop pouring all your energy into chasing her, something powerful happens. She begins to feel the shift. Suddenly, the attention she was used to isn't there anymore. What she once overlooked now stands out. And she starts to wonder, why isn't he texting me like before? Why doesn't he seem so eager anymore? That curiosity alone triggers a completely different emotional response. Scarcity works because it forces people to reflect on what they could lose. And when you pull back in a natural, authentic way, not as a manipulation, but simply because you've chosen to prioritize yourself, she can't help but feel the difference. Now, instead of you being the one doing all the pursuing, she feels the urge to reach out, to re-engage, to recapture the connection she thought was always guaranteed. This is where the psychology flips. What once felt ordinary suddenly feels rare. What once was taken for granted becomes something worth chasing. And the truth is, people don't value what's handed to them freely. They value what they have to earn. They respect what they're at risk of losing. By stepping back and allowing that space, you're not only raising your value in her eyes, you're also showing self-respect. You're demonstrating that your world doesn't revolve around anyone else, that you don't need constant validation to feel secure. And that's attractive because it communicates strength. It communicates that you are the prize, not the pursuer. When a woman realizes she no longer has unlimited access to your time and energy, she's faced with a choice. Either step up and meet your standard or risk losing you altogether. And most of the time, the pull of scarcity is enough to spark a powerful reaction because deep down, nobody wants to lose something they suddenly realize is rare. And that's why scarcity creates value. It shifts the entire dynamic and it sets the foundation for everything else that follows. Indifference is one of the most powerful forces in attraction, and yet it's one of the hardest for most people to understand. The reason it's so effective is simple. It shows that you're not dependent on anyone else for your happiness. You're not controlled by outcomes, and you're not living in fear of losing someone. That kind of energy is magnetic because it communicates freedom, self-respect, and inner strength. Most men make the mistake of thinking that the more interest they show, the more they'll win a woman over. They text constantly, they compliment excessively, they chase after validation, believing that if they just do enough, she'll finally see their worth. But what they don't realize is that this very behavior communicates the opposite. It reveals neediness. It shows that they don't truly see themselves as valuable because they're working too hard to prove it, and nothing kills attraction faster than a man who needs someone else to validate his place in the world. When you're indifferent, you move differently. You're not cold or rude, you simply don't need her reaction to feel good about yourself. If she's excited to see you, great. If she's distant, that's fine too. Either way, your mood, your confidence, your sense of purpose doesn't shift. You remain steady, centered, unshaken. And that stability is rare, which is exactly why it's so attractive. A woman can sense when a man is desperate for her attention. She can also sense when a man is completely comfortable with or without it. The second man doesn't chase, doesn't beg, doesn't worry about what's going to happen next. He's focused on living his life, pursuing his goals, and spending time with people who add value. That's the man who naturally commands respect. That's the man who doesn't have to prove anything because his actions already show his worth. Indifference also flips the emotional dynamic. Instead of her feeling like she's in control of the situation, she starts to question where she stands with you. She wonders if you're losing interest, if your attention is going elsewhere, if she has to do more to earn your time. And that subtle shift reignites the chase. It puts her in the position of investing more effort because deep down, everyone wants to feel they're pursuing something valuable. The key is that indifference must be genuine. It's not about pretending not to care while secretly obsessing. It's about truly being at peace with whatever happens because you know your life is full with or without her. That's what makes it powerful. When you don't need her validation, she starts giving it freely. When you're not seeking her attention, she begins to seek yours. And that's the real power of indifference. It removes pressure, restores balance, and keeps you in control of yourself, which naturally pulls her closer instead of pushing her away. Curiosity is one of the most underrated drivers of attraction. When a woman feels like she can predict your every move, when she knows exactly what you'll say, how you'll react, and how much attention she'll get, the mystery fades. Predictability is safe, but it isn't exciting. And excitement is what fuels desire. That's why uncertainty plays such a crucial role in keeping attraction alive. It creates space for her mind to wander, to imagine, and to crave more. Think about the moments that really capture someone's attention. It's not when everything is obvious and expected. It's when there's just enough mystery to make them lean forward, to make them wonder what's coming next. In relationships, that same dynamic applies. If a woman senses that you're always available, always eager, and always predictable, she doesn't have to think about you. But if you step back, if you move with purpose and unpredictability, suddenly you're occupying her thoughts without even trying. Uncertainty doesn't mean playing games. It doesn't mean ignoring her or deliberately creating drama. It means you're not putting your entire life on hold for her. Sometimes you're busy. Sometimes you're unavailable. Sometimes you're focused on things outside of her. And because she doesn't have constant access to you, she starts to wonder where you are, who you're with, what you're doing. That curiosity alone builds tension, and tension is the heartbeat of attraction. When a woman realizes that your attention isn't automatic, her mind naturally fills in the gaps. She may start checking her phone more often, waiting for your message. She may find herself bringing you up in conversations, even when she didn't plan to. She may even put in more effort to capture your focus again, simply because she no longer feels certain that she has it. That's the power of being a little unpredictable. It makes her invest emotionally, which deepens the connection. The irony is that most men fear uncertainty. They think if I don't show her I'm interested all the time, I might lose her. But the reality is the opposite. When you smother someone with certainty, you kill the spark. When you allow space, when you let a little uncertainty creep in, it keeps things fresh. She feels the need to work for your attention instead of assuming it's already hers. Curiosity and uncertainty keep her engaged on a deeper level because they activate the natural human desire to seek what isn't guaranteed. We all want what feels slightly out of reach. And when she doesn't know exactly where she stands with you, when she feels just a little unsure, that's when she pays more attention, invests more energy, and feels a stronger pull toward you. That's why creating space for curiosity and allowing a touch of uncertainty isn't a weakness, it's strategy. It keeps her leaning forward, wondering, and ultimately valuing your presence more than ever before. One of the most common mistakes men make in relationships is confusing attention with respect. They believe that if they give a woman everything she wants, constant validation, constant effort, constant availability, she will appreciate them more. But in reality, when everything comes too easily, respect begins to fade. When respect is gone, complacency takes its place, and complacency is the beginning of the end for attraction. Respect is built when you demonstrate through your actions that you have standards. It comes from showing that you value yourself enough not to accept poor treatment, mixed signals, or half-hearted effort. When you continue to give your best while expecting nothing in return, you actually teach her that she doesn't need to do anything to keep you. And once she feels she doesn't need to try, she begins to take you for granted. That's where complacency sets in. But the moment you pull back and stop over investing, the game changes. By removing your attention, you're sending a silent but powerful message. I'm not here to beg. I'm not here to chase. I'm here to share my time with someone who truly values it. That boundary forces her to reevaluate how she's been treating you. Suddenly, the things she overlooked, your effort, your presence, your consistency, become clear. What she once brushed aside starts to feel important again. Respect isn't given freely, it's earned. And it's not earned by trying harder to please someone, it's earned by standing firm in your own value. A woman respects the man who won't compromise his dignity just to keep her attention. She respects the man who's willing to walk away rather than tolerate being treated as an option. That kind of strength creates a shift. She realizes she can't just coast. She can't just assume you'll always be there. And that realization pulls her out of complacency. When she begins to respect you, everything else follows. Respect naturally leads to attraction, to admiration, and to effort on her part. Instead of doing the bare minimum, she starts investing more because she sees you as someone who deserves it. She's reminded that your attention isn't free, that it has weight, that it means something. And when your attention carries value, she treats it with the importance it deserves. This is why respect always replaces complacency when you stop overextending yourself. It rebalances the dynamic and puts you back in the position of strength. It makes her realize that you're not desperate to hold on at any cost. You're grounded enough to let go if she doesn't step up. And that realization is often the exact spark that reignites her effort and her attraction. At the end of the day, you can't have real love without respect, and the fastest way to earn it is by showing that you respect yourself first. When a woman realizes that your attention isn't guaranteed, something shifts inside her. She begins to feel a sense of urgency, a recognition that if she doesn't step up, she might actually lose you. And that's when her emotional investment starts to grow. What she once took for granted now feels uncertain, and uncertainty is what compels her to act. People don't fight for what they know is secure. They fight for what they're afraid of losing. This is where you begin to notice changes in her behavior. She starts reaching out more, texting first instead of waiting for you to initiate. She may bring more energy into your conversations, laugh harder at your jokes, or show more enthusiasm about seeing you. That extra effort is not random. It's her way of reestablishing the connection she feels slipping away. It's her way of proving to herself that she still has your interest. When you were overinvested, she didn't need to do much. She could sit back and allow you to carry the weight of the relationship. But now, with your attention no longer flooding her world, she feels the need to contribute. This is the beauty of pulling back. This creates space for her to step forward. And when she invests, she becomes more emotionally attached because people value what they work for. Think about it. Anything you've had to struggle for, sacrifice for, or put real effort into, you naturally cherish more than something that was simply handed to you. Relationships work the same way. If she doesn't have to do anything to keep you around, her investment remains low. But once she realizes that she must actually contribute to maintain your attention, her emotional bond strengthens. She starts thinking about you more often, prioritizing you in her schedule, and putting energy into making the connection meaningful again. What's important here is that you're not demanding this investment. You're simply creating the conditions where it happens naturally. By valuing your time, by not chasing, and by focusing on your own life, you force her to recognize your worth. And in that recognition, her behavior changes. She wants to text you more. She wants to ask about your day. She wants to secure her place in your life before it slips away. This is why her emotional investment increases. It's not because you begged for it or forced it, but because you allowed her to feel the possibility of losing something valuable. That fear, combined with her desire to reconnect, pushes her to invest at a deeper level than before. And the more she invests, the stronger her attachment grows because she's no longer passive, she's actively engaged. When she invests more of herself, the balance of the relationship shifts. It's no longer one-sided. It becomes something she's choosing, something she's working for, And that's what keeps her truly connected. When you stop chasing, when you stop pouring all of your energy into proving yourself, you naturally reclaim the leadership role in the dynamic. Leadership in a relationship doesn't mean controlling someone or dictating their every move. It means setting the tone, guiding the pace, and moving with a sense of purpose that inspires the other person to follow your lead. And the truth is, women are drawn to men who know where they're going, men who don't waver based on someone else's approval. When you were overinvested, you handed over that leadership without even realizing it. You allowed her actions, her moods, and her responses to dictate how you felt and how you behaved. If she texted back quickly, you felt confident. If she pulled away, you panicked. Without knowing it, you placed her in the driver's seat, and that imbalance slowly drained the attraction out of the connection. But the moment you pull back and stop reacting to every move she makes, the control shifts. You're no longer waiting to see what she does. You're moving forward with your own life. You're pursuing your goals, handling your responsibilities, and making decisions from a place of strength rather than insecurity. That kind of leadership doesn't need to be announced, it's felt. She notices that your world doesn't orbit around her, and that alone earns respect. Reclaiming leadership also means being clear about what you will and won't accept. You don't chase after half-hearted effort, you don't tolerate disrespect, and you don't lower your standards just to keep someone's attention. You set the bar through your actions, and she either rises to meet it or she falls away. Either way, you remain in control of yourself, which is the only real control you ever need. This leadership role creates security and attraction at the same time. Security because she can see that you're grounded, that you know what you want, and that you won't be swayed by temporary emotions. Attraction because strength and decisiveness are qualities that naturally draw her in. A man who leads his own life with conviction doesn't need to beg for attention. His presence commands it. And here's the beautiful part. When you reclaim that leadership role, she relaxes into her natural position in the dynamic. She no longer feels the pressure to guide or control things because she trusts that you've got it handled. That trust deepens her connection to you, and it reignites the natural polarity that makes relationships thrive. So by stepping back, by refusing to chase, and by holding firm to your standards, you regain the role you should have had all along, the role of a man who leads his own life and allows others to join him if they choose. That's what makes her lean in. That's what makes her want to follow your lead. And that's why pulling away instead of weakening your position actually puts you back in charge.